ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's your boy Ernie, the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so today's video, we are going to be doing another round of the best comics this week. The show where I take the 4 best comics I read each and every week, tell you a little bit about them, and why you need to be checking them out. So before we get into the proceedings, you make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap that notification bell, and hit all notifications, that way you don't miss anything. And don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and hit that hype button too. Really help me out, help the channel out, and maybe even help you out. I don't know. We'll all find out. Without further ado, let's get into our first book. First up, let's talk about Feral, number 17. This, man, look, I'm gonna go and keep it a buck with you. If you have not been keeping up with Feral, you really should. Feral is an amazing series. This is gonna be a tough one because Feral is not for the faint of heart. If you are someone who is really sensitive to violence against animals, and I don't mean like human violence, I mean like animals being violent towards one another, I will go ahead and say, probably best you sit this one out. Think 28 Days Later meets The Secret Life of Pets. Like, that's basically the best way I can break that down. And just like with any zombie movie or TV show, there always comes a point where the group of survivors feels like they have reached a place of sanctuary, like a place where, like, hey, there's tons of other survivors here. Oh my God, we finally made it. We finally found a place where we can feel safe from this threat. And what ultimately winds up happening is that they discover that this pet city that they have broken into was basically like a Pet Smart. Like, they broke into this place, but found there were other cats already living there. They had some kind of a weird society thing that was going on that just was not, it just wasn't good. It was as bad as you could probably imagine it would be. And once you get to issue 17, everything has fallen apart. We saw in the previous issue where the doors to the pet city were open and all of the infected cats started swarming in. All of these rabid cats just attacking in mass. Well, this issue, we discover that maybe the people who were living inside the pet city didn't know as much about what was going on outside as maybe they might have thought they did. And also, we get to see some relationships break down within the survivor group between the different cats, between Gigi and Elsie and even Lucky to a degree. And I'm not gonna lie, one of the things I was not actually expecting, what actually happens at the very end of this issue, that is, like, I'm not gonna lie, is absolutely positively heartbreaking thing that happens at the end of this issue, I didn't see coming. But I will say there were lots of cool twists and turns. There were moments where I felt like, man, I wonder if this character's gonna show up. I wonder if that character's gonna show up. Wait, where did that character go? And this issue handles it perfectly. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I was legitimately terrified for everybody's lives involved, especially the kids, the little kittens, Gigi's kittens. I was really worried about those kittens. And I will say this is probably like the only spoiler I will say within this, just in case anyone, because I know even those who, maybe if they're not necessarily as squeamish about some of the other violence going on, sometimes people are kind of weird about violence towards, like, especially kittens. If you're one of those people like, man, look, I just need to know, did the kittens make it? I can tell you, the kittens are okay. I'll just say that. That's all I'm gonna say. But I will definitely tell you, there are a lot of other people that aren't. There are some other people that aren't safe. But no, anyway, let's get to our next entry. All right, next up on the list is gonna be Bronze Faces number 5. This is the penultimate issue. To my understanding, this book is slated for 6 issues, and you get to the end of this, it says to be concluded, and some pretty wild stuff happens. I won't go into the full spoileriness of it because I'm gonna be honest with you, there's some pretty big stuff that happens this issue, and yeah, I kind of want you to go in cold on that. I don't want you to know what's really happening there, but just know that Bronze Faces, if you're not familiar with the series, this is a story that focuses on 3 characters, Timmy, Sango, and Gabonga, who grew up together but kind of drifted apart, but all kind of have their specialties in the things that they're able to do. And what they've been doing is they've been breaking into museums and taking back the African artifacts that museums across the world have taken in, stolen from the cultures and people who they originally belonged to, and claim them as their own, more or less. I mean, it's basically what happens IRL, and their whole mission is to get all of that stuff back. And over the course of the series, they've been pretty fairly successful at it, but they're going after a really big score in this particular issue, one that might be a little bigger than what they might even initially thought they might be getting into. And a majority of this issue is, it's both watching the plan be executed, but also watching how the plan was put together. And a little bit of Ocean's 11 vibes, if I'm keeping it a buck. And I really like how they pull together, because you're constantly jumping back and forth between them trying to figure out how to execute the plan and them actually executing the plan. But as things with heist stories should go, no matter how good you plan something, there should always be a point where something maybe goes off script. And that's what happens in this issue, and to devastating effect. Once again, yeah, I think if you have already been following the story, you're probably going to be shocked by what happens at the end. And I think you should be. And it makes me even more interested to see what's going to happen with this final issue. All right, next up is going to be Radiant Black number 38. This is one of the more interesting things that have been happening lately, which is kind of saying a lot considering everything that's been going on in Radiant Black as of late, following the Catalyst War and some of the holdovers from that alternate universe creeping over into the main universe, and so on and so forth, and the new status quo for Radiant Black, how there's some people who hate him now, there's some people who love him now, there's people who are still pretty pissy about the Catalyst War, and honestly a lot of the fan reaction the people have had towards how the series went from sugar to shit by the time that it got to the Catalyst War, but has now kind of been resurgencing since getting out of that shameful story arc. Yeah, there's a lot of meta commentary in there, but basically what's going on is that the Franklin group have put together a new squad, and they are sending them out there doing all the PR stuff and trying to be the heroes that the world needs and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, Radiant Black is still out there in these streets. Granted, this time it's Marshall has been the one who's been Radiant Black now since the end of the Catalyst War, and he's trying to get his life together. He's trying to go out on hot dates and have a life, but also still be a superhero, maintain that work-life balance that he's often struggled with when being Radiant Black, all the while encountering this new group sponsored by the Franklin group. And also at the same time, you can kind of see some wheels turning behind the helmets of some of the characters that are popping up here. Characters like Horizon, more specifically, who kind of seems at multiple points in this story, in this particular issue, to be a little bit unsure about what it is that they're saying and doing. Like, reading the script that they've been handed, the PR spin they've been handed to dictate and justify why they do what they do, but also at the same time seems to have some kind of an issue with Radiant Black that they're somehow trying to work out. And I think as we go along, we'll get more information on that, and I'm sure Marshall will get some more information on that as well. There's all this stuff that's going on that is affecting Marshall, and yet he is still handling being Radiant Black pretty well. And I love some of the art decisions in this. There's a particular splash page that does something that we saw very recently in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics at IDW that is done here with this book, where Radiant Black is tackling the group and fighting each and every one of the different members in different places across like this kind of a theater setting. Pretty neat. I like it. I like stuff like that. It's pretty neat. And I like what's going on with Marshall and Mari, though I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to her story than what we're initially getting. I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot going on there that we'll get more information about that as it goes along. But yeah, fantastic and absolutely banger of an issue. Last and most certainly not least is going to be Absolute Batman Annual number 1. This was an issue I've been long awaiting. Because when it was initially solicited, it was basically billed as being the Absolute Universe's version of Superman versus the Klan, or Superman smashes the Klan. Only this time it's not going to be Superman, it's going to be the Absolute Batman. I love it. I've seen some people have some criticism for this particular issue, saying that, oh, it's too violent, Batman would never do these things. But here's the thing, we're not talking about Earth Prime Batman. We're talking about the absolute Batman. And while the absolute Batman does have the same no-kill policy that Earth Prime Batman has, he doesn't have a policy against fucking people up. Let's just go ahead and keep it above. He doesn't have that policy. He will break a mofo's arm. He will stomp someone's teeth out of their head. He will hurt them in ways that will leave them unable to walk, possibly unable to eat solid food ever again, and they're probably always gonna have a pain in their neck whenever it rains, and they'll probably never really be able to like do this again. They're not gonna be able to do that. I think people need to calm down. And not only that, I feel like there's some really good storytelling in how and why Batman is facing these white supremacists the way that he does. He is not playing patty cakes with them. He is taking the fight to them. He's not trying to change hearts and minds. He's not Superman. Maybe the absolute Superman would have done that, but this is the absolute Batman. The absolute Batman fights. That's what he does. And there's some really cool stuff in there that kind of ties in the events that are going on with Bruce taking the fight to these white supremacists, tying it into his past, and more specifically his family, and also at the same time doing what Daniel Warren Johnson does best, because Daniel Warren Johnson is not just writing this issue, he is also providing art for this issue. And as we know, Daniel Warren Johnson is a huge fan of wrestling, specifically New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we get to see some really awesome V-triggers, one-winged angels, and all kinds of other wrestling moves utilized to absolutely brutal effect in this issue. Now, there's also another story that's in there as well. I don't want to make it seem like this is the only thing that's in it, but I will say, of the two stories, I think this, the one I'm talking about, is the better story. Not to say that the other story is bad, but just like, it just is the most impactful to me because of how it addresses white supremacy. Unabashedly, nakedly, just goes after it. No punches pulled whatsoever. The other story that comes up in this, well, like I said, no less important, but also is more of a case study in how you handle having a child who is following in with a bad crime. This is James Warren, I believe, who is writing this one, actually doing writing and art for this. And like I said, it's good. And I think there is a message in there, but the message of how you still love your child despite the fact that they have fallen in with a bad crowd, it's like just it's not quite up to the same snuff that what Daniel Warren Johnson did with just showcasing. I'm not saying like, oh, just for a couple of pages, multiple, like literally, I think that storyline is roughly maybe almost a little more than half the book, maybe right at, I would say maybe almost half the book, and it is, the majority of those pages are dedicated to Batman beating the brakes off white supremacists and not compromising with fascists and Nazis. So yeah, no, I'm 100% in for. Also, it is a litmus test for anybody on, and I would also say, you know, a very strong indicator, like if you read this book and you feel some type of way about the way police are being depicted, the way white supremacists are being depicted, the way ICE is being depicted, you're the problem. Anyway, that is the best comics this week. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you're still here and you enjoyed what you watched, hit that like button because it really helps the channel out. Also, if you want to see more videos like these, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell, because YouTube is really good about not showing these videos to my subscribers. So you need to have all notifications in order to make sure you don't miss out on anything. Also, hit that hype button as well, because it also helps the channel out tremendously. And keep it plus ultra in the comments. Let me know what you thought were the best comics this week, or did you check out any of the books that I talked about this week or the previous week? Let me know what you think about them. Anyway, we're out of here. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.